Now air pollution. First of all, there are thousands of air pollutant, but out of that, 6 are chosen as criteria air pollutant. They are called criteria pollutant. Criteria pollutant है only name I have told ना কি বললাম দেখতে পাচ্ছেন দেখতে না এগুলো কোথায় ও নামগুলো হয়ে গেছে আচ্ছা only the name I have told. Okay, these criteria pollutants, 6 criteria pollutants: SO2, NO2. What are the criteria pollutants? Suspended particulate matter, SO2, NO2, carbon monoxide, lead, and ozone is secondary. Total 6 criteria pollutant. Out of that, 5 is primary, and the ozone, the 6th one, is secondary. What is the difference? Primary air pollutants are available from certain source. They have source available. But secondary air pollutant, there is no direct source available. Okay, that is called secondary. Now, this air pollutant, one by one, if I contain. This definition, first of all, the contents are definition, composition, let's find out. First, coming to definition. What is pollutant? Pollutants are ingredients or chemicals. Okay, write down, I think it's better. Pollutants are ingredients or chemicals that are naturally occurring. Pollutants are ingredients or chemicals that are available naturally. Ingredients or chemicals available naturally and will give detrimental or toxic effect. Will give detrimental or toxic effect. Will give detrimental or toxic effect beyond certain limit. They are giving detrimental or toxic effect beyond certain limit. If you cannot note down, don't worry, the recording is there. Okay. Detrimental or toxic to the surrounding beyond certain limit. They are called pollutant. Example, arsenic. Arsenic is a pollutant and beyond certain limit, 0.5 ppm, beyond 0.5 ppm, this arsenic, beyond certain limit, 0.5 ppm, arsenic is found to be toxic. So that is the toxic limit value. 0.5 is the ppm is the toxic limit value for arsenic. Now there is another one called contaminant. Pollutant I told you. Now contaminant. They are man-made and beyond certain limit that also can give toxic effect. For example, chlorine or MIC, methyl isocyanate or chlorine type of chemical. They can be toxic to the environment and they are maybe detrimental to the environment. What is the meaning detrimental? Detrimental means that is creating corrosion. Damage, any sort of damage, that is called detrimental to the environment. Monument, statue, building getting corroded or damaged, that is detrimental. That effect is called detrimental. Like acid rain has got detrimental effect on the surrounding, that is called detrimental. And what is toxic? That is giving us health hazard, disease, that is called toxic effect. Now, composition of atmosphere already I have discussed earlier. Classification of sources of air pollutant, effect of air pollution on human, plant and material, air pollution control method, equipment and safety. Okay, so here it is given. What is pollution? Pollution is change in background concentration. What is the meaning? You have arsenic always into water, but sometimes the arsenic level becomes so high that water is not consumable anymore. We cannot consume that water. It will give disease. So that is the change in background concentration. Any substance introduced into the environment that adversely affect the usefulness of a resource. Water is a very good resource that is necessary for us, but anything getting added to the water beyond certain limit, obviously it will affect the usefulness. You cannot use that water. If there is too much of salt, that is also a pollutant, because salt will make the water useless. You cannot use that water if there is too much of salt. How much salt we can tolerate? Can you tell me? How much water you can solve? How much water you can tolerate? Okay, how much water you can tolerate? No, not water. Salt into water. How much salt into water you can tolerate? Can you tell me? 0 write down 0 to 500 parts per million. 0 to 500 parts per million. 0 to 500 parts per million. That much salt we can tolerate. It is called TDS, total dissolved solid. Okay, that much of total dissolved solid we can tolerate. Now 500 to 1500 ppm, it is not written here. All these things what I am telling from mind, it is not written here. Okay, 500 to 1500 salt content, ppm salt content is called, if you have, it is called brackish water. BRACKISH আসবেন আমি শুরু করেছিলাম একটা দেখে জানি brackish water, BRACKISH, brackish water. You are already familiar with the brackish water, I am sure. I tell you, you have seen tube well. Some tube well water is bitter taste, that is brackish water. Achha, sometimes the water is saline, that is called saline water. When we will call it saline water? 1500 to 3000. 1500 to 3000 is called saline water. 1500 ppm to 3000 ppm. 1500 to 3000 ppm is called saline water. Above 3000 ppm it is called marine water. Up to 35,000 is called marine water. So just listen once more. 0 to 500 is drinking water. 500 to 1500 brackish water. 1500 to 3000 saline water. 3000 to 35,000 marine water. Got it? So this is the second point I am discussing. Any substance introduced into the environment that adversely affect the usefulness of a resource. So what better example can be there than water? What is the very good example? Where we need water, always we need water, and in water if there is a adversely given some material which is making the water useless, that is salt. So salt is a pollutant. Beyond certain limit, salt also bad for health. That's why it is a pollutant. So I told you, anything beyond certain limit is toxic. Up to certain limit is fine. Excessive anything is bad. You need iron or not? Iron you need for our health, okay? But too much of iron is bad for health. Because if the water contains too much of iron, that water you cannot drink. So too much of iron is bad. But if you have lack of iron, if there is a iron deficiency in the body, what happens? Anemia. So for anemia you are taking capsule, right? But it is not required. If you continue consume iron along with food, it is the best one instead of medicine. So anything up to certain level is necessary, and beyond certain limit is toxic. Pollution happens because no process is 100% efficient. Each process produces pollution. Pollution happens because no process is 100% efficient. Each process produces pollution. Anything in industry, whatever best way you perform, some pollution is inevitable. At the industry, whatever you produce, whatever you make, some pollution must be there. You cannot avoid 100% pollution free is not possible, but you can make it minimized. That is possible. And that should be our target. Try to minimize the pollution level. And that's why the subjects we introduced into the syllabus. Not for making certain marks. You need to understand, you need to know, and don't talk. Hey, don't talk. So you need to know, don't talk. Now read it out. Air pollution defined as the one or more contaminants or combinations in such quantities and of such durations as may be tend to be injurious to human, animal or plant life. Do you know synergic effect? Synergic effect. Sometimes one pollutant can mix up with another pollutant, make the effect more than double. One pollutant giving certain impact, another pollutant giving some other impact. If both are together, it is giving more than double the effect. Like carbon dioxide is bad, carbon monoxide is fatal. Nitrogen dioxide is also bad, sulfur dioxide is bad. But nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide, if both together, it will give a much more impact on human health. Okay, maybe half, 50% sulfur dioxide, 50% your nitrogen dioxide. But if both the things together, it will give more than double the effect. That happens. That is called synergic effect. SYNERGIC. SYNERGIC called synergic effect. Synergy is a very common term. You should know that. Synergy. Synergy is actually the becoming more effective sometimes. More meaningful, more effective, that is called synergy. But here the effect is in a negative sense. Here we are talking about in a negative sense because we are talking about pollution. That's why it is in a negative sense. So, এটা রেকর্ডিং চলছে। এখানে এইটার মধ্যে আছে। একটুখানি বসুন। So composition of atmosphere, as we have discussed earlier, so I skip it here. This is the atmosphere structure, atmospheric structure. So this is troposphere, stratosphere, then mesosphere and thermosphere. These layers. Here the temperature is from 15 to minus 56, minus 56 to minus 2, minus 2 to minus 92, and minus 92 to 1200 degree. That way the zigzag pattern of temperature variation. This is the thermal variation of atmospheric layers. It is called thermal variation of atmospheric layers. And now the source and classification of different pollutants. Natural and man-made. Natural, pollen grains, volcanic eruption, forest fire, dust storms. You can read out yourself. Man-made disasters, thermal power plant, any power plant, any type of power plant, thermal power plant, nuclear power plant, some pollution will be there. Thermal power plant, you have a coal burning. So sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide gas will be there. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas and sulfur dioxide is a toxic gas, pollutant. So both the way it is bad. Automobile exhaust producing NO, fossil fuel burning, mining, nuclear explosion. Have you heard about Fukushima Daiichi? Have you heard about Chernobyl disaster? So these are very important phenomena where that accidental hazard happened. Nuclear hazard, accidental phenomena. Okay, that happened. Sources and classification. Stationary and mobile. Some stationary source, industrial chimney, that is stationary source of pollution. There is another called line source. What is line source? Your car is moving and from the exhaust pipe the gas is coming out. That is line source. It is forming a line. Along a line the gas is emitted. So that is a mobile source, but it is live source. So stationary source is industrial chimney, line source is mobile, that is automobile. Automobile name itself indicates it is mobile. And the third one, that is called bulk source, industrial area, that is called bulk source. So chimney is a point source, then line source, automobile exhaust pipe, and bulk source the whole industrial area, like Angotpur factory. Angotpur area, there people are making sponge iron. Huge quantity of sponge iron is produced every day, producing enormous pollution, and the whole area is affected enormously. That is called bulk pollution. So here you have some pie chart diagram, 3D pie chart. From that you will understand that air toxic emission on road mobile sources. This is for gasoline vehicle, heavy duty vehicle, percentage is given. This is statistics. 44% light duty vehicle, heavy duty vehicle 10%, gasoline vehicle 14%, light duty gasoline car 30%. So that way you can get more or less the idea that how much percentage, which particular type of vehicle is giving the pollution and how much percentage. That is the 3D pie chart diagram. Air pollutants, substance dwelling temporarily or permanently in the air. Now, some substances, they are called primary. These primary air pollutants are reacting among themselves, producing secondary one. Like ozone. Ozone is not directly, there is no source available in nature. But ozone can be produced in the atmosphere. It happens. And that is called secondary. How it is produced? Oxygen plus your ultraviolet radiation, producing oxygen atom. Then oxygen molecule and oxygen atom combine together, producing ozone. Anthropogenic source means human source. It is estimated that anthropogenic sources have changed the composition of global air by less than 0.01%. So it is human source. Even a small change can have a significant adverse effect on the climate. Small change of what? Small change of carbon dioxide percentage. How much carbon dioxide percentage you have now? Can you tell me? At this moment, what is the carbon dioxide percentage in air? 0.034%. 0.034%. Now it is increasing day by day. Now it is told a little bit of change of carbon dioxide percentage in the air can enormously affect the environmental different conditions, climatic conditions. That is told in the last line. Pollutants can be classified as primary and secondary. Primary, there is direct source like carbon monoxide, nitric oxide, sulfur dioxide. These are primary. Secondary, for example, photochemical smoke and PAN. That is secondary. As well as ozone, as I told you already. Primary, this list is here. Just have a glance. At a glance, you have a look. Particulate matter, PM. It is also called SPM, suspended particulate matter. Sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides like NO, NO2, N2O, N2O3, N2O5, volatile organic compounds VOCs, carbon monoxide and lead. These are all primary, and ozone is secondary. So these total 6 criteria pollutants are there. Again, there is a pie chart diagram indicating how much percentage of which primary pollutant present in the air. So what they are and where they come from. What is that? Means the source. This is the source. Solid waste disposal, transportation, stationary source, industrial process, different sources are available. From these sources, what we have presently, carbon monoxide, out of this total pollutant actually this is calculated. So 49.1% carbon monoxide. Primary pollutant source, if you take as a whole as 100%, out of that carbon monoxide is 49, nitrogen dioxide is 14.8, volatile organics is 13.6, What is volatile organics? Any idea? Alcohols, aldehydes, ketones, acids. Aldehydes, ketones, acids, alcohols together, they are called volatile organics. And some, all volatile compound. It can be chlorinated hydrocarbons also. Your methylene chloride, methyl chloride, carbon tetrachloride, chloroform, these type of compounds are also coming under this category. And apart from that, sulfur, oxide and dust particle here. This is the particulates, dust particle. Okay, today I end up here.